still hadn't beat it. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Why am I making all these mistakes? Long story short, 8 hours later, I
I think so. You mentioned that you're adding Superman laws. I'm thinking about dropping them.
Analyst being Mobius, tried to attack Judge Renslayer. She kicked his ass. I was like, stay down, boy. Yeah.
What would she say? Even with that, you're no threat to me. Hey everyone, welcome to Show versus Business, your weekly take on pop culture from two very different perspectives. I'm your host Theo, and on the line I have the man himself, Mr. Benja. What is up?
What's up, Theo? It is another fabulous Sunday in the middle of July. I love it. 2021 is excellent.
I love it, man. You always come with the hypeness. So hey everyone, we got a lot to talk about today. First news: Space Jams wins big this weekend. Superheroes at the Emmys, and Netflix is a game developer now. Who knew? And then we are going to go into our recap. This has been moved up. We're going to talk about the Loki season finale, and that leads into our new feature, Loki and the Future of the MCU. So we're really excited to get into this episode. With that being said, Mr. Benja, how was your week?
Oh man, week was kind of wild. I had a paradigm shifting moment, man. I got kind of frustrated, or I don't even know if frustrated is the right word. But doing all this marketing, branding, it puts your head in a different mind space than straight up development. So I got pissed off and decided to play some chess on my phone. Um, and a computer opponent that shouldn't have beat me just kicked my ass. And I was like, oh, hell no. So I kept playing, and about an hour later, I still hadn't beat it. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Why am I making all these mistakes? Long story short, 8 hours later, I, 8 hours later, I finally beat the computer chess opponent 2 times in a row. And that was every so often I need to go off the rails and just like, all right, let me go wander the mall, let me go do something. I needed that planning, that logic, that whole thing again of getting back into the mental logical vibe. So 8 hours of chess, and now I'm back and better. It wasn't in a row, a solid block, but yeah.
Got you. So you had to get back on your Queen's Gambit shit. I love it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
you weren't seeing the rook and everybody in the ceiling. You weren't seeing the movement to the ceiling anymore. So you had to get back into your movements. I get it,
yeah, I think
man.
I saw an NFT, a crypto punk up in the ceiling. I saw my washing machine not getting fixed. I was seeing all kinds of stuff, but it wasn't chess moves, so I had to fix that.
Yeah. We talk about this being raw or in the mix, man. It's delicate balance, man. It's like the light and dark side of the force, man. You gotta be in delicate balance. If you don't do it right, you're too much in the mix.
Yeah.
You don't stay raw.
Kanye West actually has a good plan for doing this. He has it where he just turns on and off from like straight marketing, straight being out there, and then he'll just disappear and go in the lab for months at a time, and then he pops back up. I know people who do that, and I think I might start putting that into my schedule. Just disappear. Bill Gates too.
Yeah, you kind of have to. You need both. I mean, that's just the thing, and that's why I have a startup company similar. Me and my co-founder are more like in the mix. He's more the raw guy, and so it's a good mix. We can both do both sides of it, but you got to have someone that's dedicated to spend the majority of the time just being raw, and the other person just being in the mix. So that because you need both, unfortunately, right? And it does seem like social media and everything has over indexed it over to just being in the mix more often because of
Hmm.
everyone's out there more often. So but you can't negate the rawness, man, because that's the sustainability that's going to keep you long term. So I get it, man. I love it, man. This is good stuff, man. So real quick, couple quick things, man. Do you have any BenjaCon announcements? So for those that don't know, Mr. Benja He does a yearly kind of virtual conference, and it's been great over the last couple of years. If you've seen him on Instagram live on his Wednesday sets, and with us live show versus business and other daily sets that he does. So just wanted to know, you've been kind of talking about on Instagrams. Wanted to know if you want to make any announcements here today on dates and times and all that.
Dates and times. So we're going to be kicking this off on July 26th through the 31st, the last week of July. And BenjaCon, as I said, I got in the con spirit every year, and it was a great way to network with people and connect with awesome minds and people who just like to have good, thoughtful fun with all this con stuff that's going on. And we're talking about video games, comic books, TV shows, whatever we're into at the time. But BenjaCon was specifically focused around creativity and development, art design and development to be particular. So we're gonna have Yell and Jeff, Jeff Junio of Yell and Jeff. He's a movie reviewer. Theo, definitely have you on, of course. We'll pop.
Really? Oh, I'm
Oh,
honored.
oh.
Surprised.
I told the staff if Theo can't be on it, we're not doing it. So
Oh,
they
I
made it
love it.
happen.
I love it.
We're gonna have a writer, Holly Stacy, Eddie Pachinko, marketing guy who actually. It's funny. I started talking about Ty Lopez. He was like, "Yeah, I used to hang out at his parties." I'm like, "What?" So, yeah, all over the place. But we're gonna have a good time. I'll be putting the schedule up and everything this week just to kind of prepare everybody for the week after. BenjaCon's coming.
Love it. Love it. Love it, man. I love it. Mr. Benja Khan is in the house, man. Check it out, everyone. Definitely. This is gonna be, one of those things you're gonna say, I wish I was there. So this is the time to go check it out. So go check him out, Mr. Benja, on Instagram, on Twitter, wherever you follow Mr. Benja. You'll find it there as well. So Mr. Benja, real quick, we did our top 5 shows a couple of weeks ago, and there's some new announcements. Some things have changed. This is rarity of what we do, but just curious. Do you have any thoughts on changing? You had mentioned too on the pod that we talked about our top 5 shows. You mentioned that you may change things based on the Loki finale. So just curious. And then I have some changes too, of course. But I want to start with you. Did you make any changes in your top 5 list from what we talked about last time?
Um, you know, uh, I was still fighting on the honorable mention, which was Superman and Lois. And given the spirit of what we do here, we could replace Mayor of Easttown with Superman and Lois because I was into Mayor of Easttown for a reason that's not quite above board. It's like, what, this is cool, but I'm just going down one of my weird rabbit holes. So, you know, I might have to kick Mayor of Easttown off and put Superman and Lois in as my number five.
Okay. Very interesting because so for those that don't know, so just let's just do a rundown. Hopefully I did the order right. For Theo, I did Mythic Quest, Superman and Lois, Falcon, Loki, and Invincible. And then Mr. Benja, I think you did Mayor of Easttown, Lupin, Falcon, Loki, and then Invincible. And I think so. You mentioned that you're adding Superman, Lois. I'm thinking about dropping them. And
Okay,
so,
wait. Okay, I found it. I found the list of what we had. Okay,
okay,
yeah. So my number one was like my order was like this: number one, Loki; two, Invincible; uh, three, I
that's
put
right.
in um, three. I actually had Superman and Lois. Four, I had them, and
That's right.
and five, I had Lupin. So we'll put five there, and we'll move Mayor of Easttown off the list.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
So,
and yours,
what was my list? Yeah.
yours was Lupin, Mayor of Easttown, Superman, Lois, Invincible, Loki. No, oh God, I got it wrong. I I don't know what yours
Well,
was.
yeah, I think it was Mythic Quest was in there, which I'll keep as number 5. I had number 4, Superman and Lois. For
Hmm.
those that haven't seen it in a while, the last episode, just having a smiling John Henry Irons did not go well with me at all. So if you haven't seen the show, there's a scene where he's just, how you doing, sir? I'm good. Yeah, I'm glad your family's fine. I'm just gonna smile and go off on my own. To me, that didn't, I don't know, didn't gel right with me. So I don't know. Superman and Lois may be going down to number five. I'll still keep it there, but I don't know, man. Just a smiling black man, it just to the white family, just something about that doesn't shape right with me. And then Loki, I think I had it as like number three or number two. I think I'm gonna move it up. So we'll
No,
talk about that in a
you
second.
had I do have that scribbled in here. You had Loki as number three. I
Yeah,
don't know what you said. Invincible was one. I don't know what your number two was. Loki was three.
it was Captain. Yeah, it was probably Captain.
Falcon. Yeah, okay.
I mean Captain. Yeah, Captain Falcon,
Captain.
Captain American Falcon, but
Yeah.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Which I did not
But
have on
yes,
my list at all.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's still on my list. I think what they were trying to do was ambitious enough to justify it, but I think Loki has started to move pretty much to number one. So we'll talk about that in a second. Why it's number one on both our lists now. So anyway, so from time to time we may check in on different things that we talked about just to kind of see how we're feeling and the sentiment is changing. So that's going to be interesting. But so let's get into it, Mr. Benja. Let's get into the news. So, Space Jam 2 wins big at the box office. It made 31 million this past weekend. It was the biggest opening for a family and a WB movie since the pandemic. So, Mr. Benja, what are your thoughts on Space Jam 2? I don't. First of all, did you see it? And number two, is it something you want to see?
I was never on the Space Jam kick. It's like I mean, I know what it is. It's the vibe. Just get these people together, have some, madcap comic plus real people fun. It's a, yeah, madcap. That's the word. It's just it is what it is. It's fun. A lot of pop culture references. It's cool. It's like all right, whatever. But it's just like not on my radar.
I love it. I love the honesty. Yeah. So again, I got the kids. So I got the kids zone here. So I watched it. And for those that don't know, I pretty much have all the streaming services now. So I pretty much watch everything, and so because I don't have to go to the movie theaters, so I did watch it with the kids. It's okay. I mean, I watched the first one. They try to do a few things. It's very IP centric. So there's a lot of references to Warner Brother properties. So you'll see Harry Potter in there. You'll see Rick and Morty. You'll see all kinds of stuff. King Kong, the Iron Giant, and they make references to those things ad infinitum. In addition to the Looney Tunes, which is the benefit, which was the purpose of the original Space Jam, Bugs Bunny and that whole crew. So make a long story short, I mean, I thought it was good for what it was, and I like the story things elements they try to get into it. But I do feel like they did try too hard with the whole IP pushment, and say, hey, you like Game of Thrones? Well, guess what? Here's LeBron on a dragon, right? Sitting on the Iron Throne. So it's
Yeah.
just like, okay. But I mean, they tried, and it's got some decent music in it, it's just like the original Space Jams. For those that don't know, we probably won't mention his name, but it was a famous singer who had a song about man. Now I draw a blank, but it was like one of the biggest hits of the year. Man, that song came out of that. Man, it wasn't. I wish was it? It was. I believe I can
I can
fly. That's
fly.
what it
I believe I
was.
can fly. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. That was like the song of the year. I mean, if you graduated around that time, you definitely heard that song. Graduation, and that came from a Michael Jordan Bugs Bunny mashup movie that came out in '96.
Yep.
So this is interesting.
Yeah. Uh, I heard it playing in the mall once, and I was like, huh. All right.
They got a little something too, where it's basically Lil Baby and Kurt Franklin have a song that's "We Win," so it's kind of along that same kind of inspirational kind of thing that they're trying to push out there. But this is 2021, man. It's just like a different vibe, man. It's just hard to get things to go, just take up. So we'll see. I like the song, but it'd be interesting to see what happens, if it gets any pickup after this movie release.
So are you
So
are you talking about like trying to have a "We Are the World" type song, or just a iconic theme song that everybody, yeah. if you're not making a breaking a song on TikTok, then I don't know what you're doing right now. So I,
Very good point. Very good point. You don't have a dance associated where
yeah,
the
yeah.
black TikTokers can make a choreographed kind of movement. Yeah, exactly. You
I,
know?
I just did my little variation of a TikTok dance.
Like Savage going crazy, just yeah, very literal type of choreography if you've never seen it before. But anyway, so anyway, we'll see. I like the movie. Like again, I give it high, pretty good reviews. But it's basically a kid movie. So if you want to check it out, let us know what you think of Space Jam 2. But definitely made a lot of money. So good for LeBron James and team, and LeBron James being the sports guy he is, pretty much said in a tweet. To all the haters. So I guess he's winning again, man. Good for LeBron. And hey, full disclosure, I'm a LeBron guy. I mean, I'm a Laker fan. I even liked him before he became to the Lakers. So good for him, man. But I know for whatever reason, there's a lot of hate for him out there. So we'll see what happens.
Can you stream Space Jam 2? I mean, yeah.
What do you mean on it's on HBO Max, so you probably can watch it, Mr. Benja, if you really wanted to, but it's up to you.
Yeah, well, you mentioned that. I just wanted to make sure because they said we're still doing their whole year of movies, right?
Oh yeah, we're gonna watch Suicide Squad on there. We're gonna watch something else is coming out. That was pretty big. I think Dune. I think we might be able to get to watch Dune on there. So yeah,
All right.
hey man, if I don't gotta go to movie theater, I'll stay at home. I mean, I love movie theaters like the rest of them, but shoot. Matter of fact, me and the missus finally watched. I have Paramount Plus, and we finally watched A Quiet Place too. So I'm so glad I did not go to the movie theaters for that. It
Mm,
was good. It was decent, but it was like not worth going to the movie theaters. So there you go.
yeah.
So
These movie studios might have to step their game up.
man, I'm telling you, man, it's like I mean, anyway, maybe we'll have a discussion on that. Like, is the quality? I mean, there's some movies that's going to be on movie theaters coming up here soon. So, like Free Guy, for instance, I don't know if you saw that the Ryan Reynolds movie about gaming basically, and it's going to be in theaters only. So we'll see how many people show up for that, or there's going to be interest in there. But especially unfortunate with the cases of COVID increasing with the Delta variant. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of months. But yeah, everyone, keep us posted. If you saw Space Jam, if you're going back to the theaters, that's just an ongoing conversation we want to have with the audience here. So with that being said, let's move on to the next topic. So superheroes win big at Emmy nominations. For those that don't know, the Emmy nominations were this past week, and they mentioned a ton of genre storytelling that's pretty much going to be nominated for Emmys, and it's like pretty big thing. Some of the things that we saw here, I'm looking at the list here for best movie, 16 trends that happened recently. We saw The Boys got nominated. The Boys got the TV show for best drama. We saw The Mandalorian get nominated for best drama. Uh, we saw Wanda and the Winter Soldier. Excuse me, Wanda and the Winter Soldier. WandaVision got nominated, and then we saw Don Cheadle get nominated as a guest star for like 16 seconds for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and he's confused. So, Mr. Benja, what is going on, man? As TV just dominated with superhero storytelling right now?
See, this is the whole thing about my thesis, hero movies dead or alive. We caught this whole streaming thing right at the time when the hero wave was picking up, and you know you got to have basically the hero movies allow you to do this big property with all these attachments to it and gets people watching, and it brings in fanboys. People who are going to go watch it, tell their friends, watch 17 times. It doesn't matter if it's good or not. If you have a catchy kind of hero thing, that's the joint right now. That's the lick. So, you got to have that. And all of a sudden, Hollywood, who's been fighting it, I mean, they've literally been like, ugh, another one of these hero things. Well, I'll do one or two of them, and then we'll get on to real cinema again. It's like, all right, whatever, not happening.
Yeah, we can dig in the crates on this, but we remember those days of Spawn and of the first X-Men, where they wore black leather suits because the suits at Fox were scared to have Wolverine in his classic yellow, right? And so, yes, this is definitely a weird world we're in right now with superhero storytelling is dominant. So I'm excited about it, and so we'll see what happens. So, but it's just interesting. But also, I think this 2020, year was just so off-putting that the only thing they could probably showcase was superhero movies, right? That were already filmed or in the can because so many productions got delayed, right, because of
Yeah.
COVID. So that may be another thing, but I don't know, man. They might like the ratings they get because what happens is, oh, Boys got nominated, Mandalorian got nominated. I'll go watch the Emmys, and now they got record TV views, and so
Yeah.
now they're
Yeah.
gonna be like, oh, this sugar high from the hero hit was good, man. Let's keep nominating this shit.
You see, we need somebody come walking up the Emmy steps in Deadpool cosplay to make it happen. You know, tight outfit and everything, just like doesn't give a care.
I love it. I love it, man. So more to come on that, guys. So we'll definitely keep you posted, and definitely let me know your thoughts on what you guys think about Emmy nominations. But hey, let's move on. Netflix and gaming. So we talk about this on the show, man. So Netflix looks like they're getting to the gaming. Will this change the game? On the business side, the stock is as high as is up in the 540s, which is the highest it's been since April. So it looks like the market loves this announcement. Mr. Benja, as someone who's came from the industry, what are your thoughts about Netflix and gaming?
So this isn't the route that I would have expected them to take. I didn't expect them to go a full gaming route, but apparently they are. Um, for those of you who don't know, there used to be like around the time when Netflix was a disc-based service, DVDs where you'd mail disc around. There were a few different services, not just Netflix, that all tried to compete in that arena, and a couple of them actually rented video games by mail. So there was actually a lot of there was GameFly, there was Green Scene did games too. There were a couple of them that did games. So this was an excellent way to play games. Now, games are streaming, DVDs are streaming, so that business is out. But people have been looking for a way to get back that game revenue because it's just been a missing part of the industry. And Google, I could talk about Google Games later, but they dropped the ball on this one. Google had Google Stadia and some other games initiative didn't work out right. Steam has been stuck on the PC, and Steam makes a lot of money, but they're kind of stuck in their own little bubble. So we're starting to see other people pushing to make games happen. Xbox is doing their thing. You have the Apple Arcade, which is I don't know the numbers on how well they're doing, but people enjoy it. And
Yeah,
suddenly,
yeah, my kids love it. It's only
oh, you got
$5 a
arcade.
month, and yeah, $5 a month. They get to play all the games they want, so they love it.
Oh, nice. Do you have any other gaming services?
Nah, that's it, man.
Okay.
I stay away from that shit, man. It's a time suck, man. I'm scared. If I go back down that black hole, I
Yeah.
won't come up for another 2 years.
Yeah. By the way, this 8 hours of chess, they kept asking me if I wanted to subscribe for $15 a month to play chess, and I
Oh
almost
yeah,
did
I got that. I got that.
it.
At the Queen's Gambit, I got the I saw that I gotta learn. So yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, man. And I clicked. They actually had a live event of gaming. That's what surprised me. So I'm sitting here on this little gaming app, and they're like, "Hey, these other people are playing live right now in the Ukraine." I clicked the little button to watch for a few minutes, and then it was like, "Hey, glad you're enjoying this, but if you want to keep watching," I'm like, "Oh, they're
Oh
trying to get me."
yeah,
So yeah.
I
Anyway,
got you.
but Netflix doing this, um, they're going in. They're just going to do a game service, and apparently at least initially, it seems like they're just going to offer it, and if you have Netflix, you'll have Netflix gaming.
Well, let me ask you a question. So we saw little experiments they've done with Puss in Boots, with Shrek, where you kind of have your choose your own adventure type TV show,
Hmm.
and then was it Bandersnatch with
Bandersnatch.
Black Mirror, Black Mirror.
Hmm.
where they kind of had your kind of choose your own adventure type storytelling. So is that the more interactive kind of gaming? Is that the direction you think they're going to go with this, or is it going to be more of the hardcore,
This
hey,
is
Call of Duty type thing?
Yeah, this is not Bandersnatch. This is not Puss and Boots. This is not the Minecraft stories. This is that's its own little department, and I don't know what they're doing. Um, I haven't heard anything about them coming out with any new projects lately, but I know that all of a sudden this games thing is popping up, and Netflix isn't developing games. They are not in the market to develop games. So I'm thinking they're just going to take the Steam model and try to get a lot of these indie developers, a lot of these smaller developers. Maybe they don't want to get them on mobile, and they just suck them over and dump their content into a Netflix stream.
Hmm, okay, yeah, it's going to be
So
interesting. We saw. Go ahead.
I'm about to say I don't expect anything too hardcore. Netflix. I don't. Hardcore gamers. I don't know what their game offering is going to be, but I suspect it'll be a lot of the simpler stuff that you could get like on, Xbox Live Arcade or something.
Well, look, they plug all this stuff into algorithm, and I'm sure the algorithms told them, look, some of the top hits are The Witcher, Castlevania. They just released what's that? Resident Evil. So I'm
Yep.
sure they're like, let's do the math here. Look, this is key content. If we create, games around this, with independent studios or the original studios, just makes sense.
I could just imagine a boardroom and they point at a guy comes in, point turns on his PowerPoint presentation. Look at this Venn diagram. And it's just a big red circle. This is the overlap of nerds who watch Castlevania, the nerds who watch the Seven Deadly Sins, and all this, and the nerds who play games. Sir, that's just a circle. Where's the rest of the diagram? That's just it. They
That's my
overlap
point.
completely.
That's my point. No, I get it, man. It's yeah, well, and I was listening to another podcast, Pivot, and they had talked about that as well. That hey, this is Netflix is getting into this space, but also they're also creating original content podcasts around some of their stories, right? And so Netflix is still is a power player here. I mean, we don't talk about their shows as much as we probably used to because of what's happening with Disney Plus and what's happening with HBO Max. But don't count Netflix out, man. They still got some legs here because
Yeah.
they're kind of like you mentioned. This is like this they're like TV, right? They have everything, so it's
Yeah.
just only a matter of time before they still kind of dominate.
One interesting point that they're going to do well with, if you're talking about gaming, a little while ago we talked about the merch that Netflix is putting out. So I think it's net- merch.shop.netflix.com or something like that. You'll have to just search shop Netflix merch and it'll come up. But Netflix has its own little merchandising thing now. So whenever a new property comes out, they've teamed up with some some cool designers, developers to create some sort of product, whether it's shoes, clothes, toys, figurines, or whatever. And when you're talking about that overlap, that's another area of overlap because you got guys collecting Funko Pops of their favorite games, mugs, T-shirts, et cetera, et cetera. That whole market connecting into uh, the Netflix gaming kind of thing. I mean, as I said, they're taking the playbook from Crunchyroll, and if they do it right, it's going to be a great, awesome thing.
Yeah, I agree. But like after watching Space Jam, and of course we talk about Disney Plus, Netflix is still struggling with that core IP, right? They just, they still don't have that core IP that's just going to dominate like Warner
Yeah,
Brothers and Disney Plus. So, but so it's, but they are getting to merchandise, so that's going to be interesting. So if I read somewhere you only a brand when you can sell merchandise, so this is good, man. So anyway, more to come on the streaming wars. Maybe we'll do an update at the end of the year where everything panned out, and see how our predictions turned out for some of these I think one of my predictions was that Netflix is going to get into more stuff around, not just gaming, but just more content creation. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. So, Mr. Benja, we're going to do something a little different this time, man. Usually we get into, our feature. We're going to step it up to this week. We're going to do a recap of Loki episode 6. So, for those that don't know, the final episode of Loki premiered on Wednesday, and oh wow! So, Mr. Benja, we can, you know, we talked about this in the show notes, but probably what we'll do, we'll kind of go stepwise through this recap and kind of go through each section because it was that, it definitely was something that a lot of folks, whether they liked it or not, I think they felt that it definitely changed the game in a lot of different areas. So with that being said, we're going to go from the recap directly into the feature where we'll talk about
Hmm.
how this episode will lead to the future of the MCU. So let's get into Loki episode 6, man. So let's start from the beginning. One of the things I want to talk about is just that beginning audio montage. So, for those that don't know, it starts off with just a different montage of all these different Marvel moments. So Mr. Benja, was that affecting enough to set the stage for you? Were there any type of montages, the audio, sounds that got you, in the feels a little bit when you listen to it?
So it's interesting. They, anytime you do the opening intro, you're so used to seeing it a certain way. Whenever they play it up for effect to do something different, you should kind of watch out for what they're doing. And we saw this opening intro, and they were throwing in references from Ant-Man, Greta Thunberg, you know Nelson Mandela was in there at one point. Um, they're just throwing in all kinds of stuff from their universe and in the news. So it was kind of wild. And when I started hearing this, I'm like, yo, they're going somewhere different with this. And I didn't catch everything, but I went back and read what some people were saying. I don't know all the implications, but it definitely got me in the mood to expect madness. I don't know. What'd you get? What'd you get from it?
Yeah, same way. It's just like, you just like watching, okay, here's a recap of what happened last episode. And we'll talk about that a little bit about if last episode was weak or not. But the finale, okay, just like, okay, we'll see what they're going to do. And then when I heard that Captain America and Peggy music, from Endgame, I was like, oh
Oh
man,
yeah.
that's pretty sweet. And then it's just like they just start hearing these little snippets, and then I heard that Wakanda Forever, and those are the
Yep.
two sound bites that got me. It's like, oh wow, they're really doing this, huh? And so now now I'm in the back of my mind, I'm listening to all these different things, and I hear Thor saying, we're work colleagues and stuff like that. So I was like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I'm bringing back memories. And then I heard, like you said, I heard Nelson Mandela. I'm like, and Maya Angelou. I was like, what is this about? So to your point, it set the tone, kind of be nostalgic, but also relevant, and I thought that was kind of interesting. So to me, that was like, okay, they're going, man. This, I mean, this we'll talk about this in the show versus business side, but it's like as a creative man, isn't this great? Because you're basically setting them to say, hey, be prepared for the unexpected. You think you're gonna get the same old, but you're not. And that was probably the key. What they were trying to prepare us for, right? What came later, and I think that was just genius. That's just I guess our artistry at a high level because they just understood exactly what we were thinking probably when we were listening to that.
Yeah. I sat up and took notice because not only did they have the voices going on, but we're flying around the solar system. We're going in and out of things that look like quarks and galaxies. And they even had the universe contract and then explode out multiple black holes. And we left one black hole and went into another one. I'm like, hold on a second. This is getting wild here. Um, so yeah, I actually had to sit up and take notice of that, and I was like, okay, okay, we're definitely going to places that no TV show has gone before, and
Mm,
we'll get into why towards the end of this, how it wraps into everything. But yeah, I was in
I
for it.
love it. I love it. I love it. So basically, just doing follow the recap. So we were last left Sylvie and Loki as they kind of went through Alioth, the smoke monster that eats time and space. And they, I guess, look, at the end of the day, can't think too hard about these things. She's basically enchanted this this creature and was able to finally get inside the creature to see, I guess who's behind the curtain. And they go in and they find a door and they go into the big cathedral. And then we get our first kind of, character, Miss Minutes. So, Mr. Benja, in this scene, Miss Minutes had a little stank on her, man. What were your thoughts about Miss Minutes?
Yeah, she kind of creeped me out, man. Popping in there, hey y'all, with the big eyes. Just kind of like whoa. It played for great effect too. I love it. Kind of a soft jump scare. Um, but yeah, evil Miss Minutes. And what's interesting about her showing up there is she's not in the TVA. So it's not like she's a TVA computer program. She showed up way outside in near the inside the Citadel, which is what they call that thing, the Time Citadel or whatever. So she showed up there, and it's like, oh, okay. So she's all in the mix, or she's part of this technology and program or whatever. Um, and it kind of made sense because if you looked at the design of the Citadel itself, it's like dripping with that same color energy that the Tim pads and all their technology has. So you're like, okay, so this is all connected. Yeah, Miss Minutes. I think we haven't seen the last of her.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of interesting character. It's like we talked about Space Jams. She's like a animated character, but not like a CGI character. So it's kind of weird. But she's got a little character to her, and she's voiced by the great Tara Strong. For those that don't know, from Powerpuff Girls, from I mean, basically anything and everything you ever listened to when you were a kid, right? And even now, so she's like the one of the top voice actors ever. And so she comes in, with that and those creepy eyes that got a little angry, you know. Well, oh, we could do this. You could get everything you want, or you get the stick. So I forgot now it's coming back to me, but she also gave him a opportunity to kind of stop, right? And then and there's another kind of Faustian bargain that they have to go against as well. So Loki and Sylvie had like two stop gates, right, before they kind of had to make their ultimate decisions. But it's kind of interesting because she did say, "Hey, what if you guys could just be together forever and you can have everything you want?" So she was also kind of another test gate for them as they went to the ultimate, master behind the scenes. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So
Yeah, I didn't actually think of that as another option. When I first watched it, because that's actually three options. Because she gives them, she says, hey, you can go do your thing in the new time in a timeline and make it work. We'll make it work, or you can go on and deal with whatever. So it's kind of curious as to what's really going on and what's happening. Um, but yeah, that's a very good point. And she didn't put up a fight when they decided to keep going. She was like, all right, go ahead then.
hmm yeah, it's just like one last little test to see, if they're really bad about it, right? They're really going to move forward with it. So it's kind of like I like that. It's kind of like the hero's journey, right? They got to give some resistance, But a lot of times these resistances in TV shows are so non-existent. But yeah,
Yeah.
so she's like, okay, go ahead, do what you got to do, and then she got mad at them and disappeared. So anyway, they move on and they come to the door and then they bust through the door and they get to an elevator. So I guess this is when we're going to start. And this is spoiler alerts, guys. We're going to get deep dive on this one. So, Mr. Benja, when the elevator opened up, what were your thoughts when you first saw who came out the elevator?
You know what, dog? I I love it when shows do this. When and I only love it when they do it properly because they f it up all the time. When they try to speak on multiple levels, and this script, this whole discussion that we are about to have happened on multiple levels. And the first thing that your boy said when the elevator opened up, um, he who remains, that's what we'll call him. He stops and he just kind of looks at him like, "Oh, I'm glad you're here." But the first thing he actually says is, "This is wild." Dude, when I heard that, I was like, "Hell yeah, it is." I- you know,
So,
yeah,
do we
it's
want to
just
get into it? Do we want to get into it?
um
So, I
Okay,
guess what
or we can just plow through because there's not too much that actually happens in the show. So let's just plow through the recap and then we'll discuss points. How's that?
well,
Oh,
I like what we're doing. We're kind of
okay, okay,
stepping
okay,
through it because then we can kind of go deep dive into each section and kind of
okay.
talk a little bit more about it. Because we have a whole nother section about the implications of what happens here. So, make a long story short. So, yes, for those that don't know, the actor that was been cast as Kang the Conqueror basically appeared in the elevator, John DeMajors. And so when that happened, to me, my jaw dropped because I think we talked about this, right? Where
Yeah,
are we going to get Rick Bonered again, right? Or are they going to, provide all these cues to something bigger and grander, but just, it'll just be a wet fart, right? Because it's nothing there. And so my prediction was, from last episode for our last podcast was that, I didn't have my hopes up too much, right? We may get
yeah.
a reference to him, but I didn't know if we were actually going to see him. And they did it, man. They actually put it. So when the elevator opened up and I saw the actor that plays King the Conqueror in the Ant-Man show, the movie coming out,
Hmm.
Quantumanium, I was just like, oh, they're going there. So that's that I think that's really why we have to kind of talk about more because that means that okay, now this has opened that elevator opened up and opened up a different possibility. And that's
Yeah,
when I was like, you had my what is that? What's that from that line from Django Unchained? He said you had my interest, now you have my attention. And so then
yeah,
I went in there and I was paying attention way more.
yeah. So after the whole Universal kind of black hole intro, you're expecting things to be changed and going differently. I look at the clock. We're 10 minutes into the show of about 40 minutes and all we're already faced with something that we thought we would get a if anything, we get a mention of, not an
Mhm.
actual character. So 10 minutes in, door opens up, this is wild. And I was just like like you, I was like, what? They did it because okay, everybody was throwing out theories of who it could be. They were like, okay, it might be Kang, but let's not get our hopes up. We probably won't see that. People had lists of it'll just be Mephisto. We're just going to be dealing with Ravonna. We're going to see that Miss Minutes is like some AI being. And actually, yeah, they threw Miss Minutes at us, and they were like, okay, it's not her or whatever. She just left. Um, we had so many different names of things that it could be, like Mobius or whatever, or Evil Loki or King Loki. King Loki from the trailer that they never actually showed in the show, which was another misdirect. So yeah, when your boy was sitting there on the throne, this is wild.
Yeah, and he also said this isn't what you quite expected, was it? As he took a bite of the apple, and so it's just
Yeah,
like, so we'll talk about this later, but man, that damn Kevin Feige, man, I tell you, because basically, I don't know if they planned this, but it just worked perfectly because our expectations were set that these TV shows were just full of shit and they were going to really move the needle, right? I mean, we talked about this on the
yeah,
last couple of podcasts. So our expectations have been set so low, so when Loki showed up, I was just, I was on the other side. I was like, I'm not getting my hopes up. I mean, sure, but I'm not expecting it. And he did it. So that to me is brilliant storytelling because he set our expectations so high. Because I mean, after the Rick Boner, for those that don't know, WandaVision, they introduced a character. Basically, he played in the previous Marvel Fox X-Men series. He played Quicksilver. He shows up in WandaVision, so we thinking that, oh wow, they're gonna finally introduce mutants. That
yeah,
was a wet fart. What happened in Captain and Winter Soldier? I mean, it's Captain. I always want to say that Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
yeah,
I think it was just the whole, we were going to get excited about, hey, are they going to introduce, new characters, basically, and all this other stuff, and that just kind of, landed like a wet fart too. And so now this show comes out, and my expectations were low. He just beat me down, Kevin Feige, and he just flipped it, man. It was just like, okay, now it's time to turn it on. These TV shows matter now, and so that's what's
yeah.
exciting.
Which is weird. Speaking of Feige, I look back at articles and a long time ago, 2017, 18, he was talking about, yeah, we're going to be doing shows in the future. And, you know, you'll need them to to fully appreciate the movies. And people kind of gave pushback and were like, we don't want these to, we don't want to have to sign up for your service and all that. So then later on, towards 2020, when they started getting ready to release them, he's like, well, listen, they're standalone. They'll just give some backstory, but you won't need them to, really understand and appreciate the films. And they're setting up for the film. So we're like, okay, whatever. And but yeah, we got bonered. And if you didn't know the boner thing was coming, we just saved you from some heartache and
Yeah.
throwing your sprite at the screen. So
But then WandaVision also had the whole everybody thought it was Reed Richards, right? The scientist that was going into the bunker, right, to kind of go into the city with her. So it was a lot of stuff that we just didn't know what to expect, right? Because it was the first TV show from Marvel. So
mhm.
now that they had set expectations with two properly, we thought, okay, they're just going to be their own little self-contained things, and then so now they open up everything. So let's just, like you said, let's just get to the story. So basically, he comes out, and he doesn't mention the name King. He kind of talks around about it. He does mention, he's been named many things, the Conqueror, a jerk.
Yeah.
So, do you have any highlights? So, do you want to give everyone a high level overview of King in the comics, or you have any thoughts on that?
Okay, so Kang's an interesting character. Basically, way in the future, this guy figures out, time travel and how to affect timelines, and what's interesting is about him that all of the other variants of this character, Kang, across Kang, Immortus, whatever, all across different universes start figuring out the same things all at once. So what he ends up doing is collaborating with all these different versions of himself, and you know, of course, madness breaks out because there are just a bunch of these scientists. Some of them mad, some of them power hungry. Some of them just want to destroy the thing. Some of them want to take over or whatever. Infighting. It just gets crazy. In fact, they even form a council of Kangs, right? Um, that that's what it's called. So there's so many of these things going on that one of them decides, all right, I'm going to straighten all this stuff out, and he starts pruning off. They have a war, the multiversal war that they were talking about in the beginning of the show, Loki. This is caused by basically Kang messing with the timeline.
Mhm.
So
There's
yeah,
always a kernel in truth, right? There's always a kernel in truth in lies. So that's the interesting thing to me. It's amazing how that works.
yeah. So the TVA was, you say sacred timeline. Well, it's the timeline that Kang wanted to set up to keep things ordered his way. Um, and when they were talking about the smoke monster, it was an artifact from screwing up time. You about to say something?
No, keep going. This is good.
Oh, so yeah, the smoke monster is basically an artifact from screwing up time, and things need to get resolved, and basically it gets pulled into the void and destroyed, basically. So if you remember, the one time he got angry as he was just kind of being, old Mad Hatter in a castle, he kind of got angry and said, "I weaponized, the smoke monster. I weaponized Aelith. I recognize
Yeah, I thought
weaponized
it was
it.
Elias. Yeah, Elias.
Alioth. There it goes. I weaponized Alioth, and if he's got that powerful of a weapon, that basically was able to, stop this war. So, I don't know anybody else that's screwing around with the timeline somehow, you know, Alioth comes over and sucks them up into the void, and they're not to be seen again. Um, that's what happens. So now you've got either a dictator or chaos, and that's kind of the option that they were being presented with in that story. So,
Hmm. No, well said. And there's been thoughts on who this king is, right? There's so many kings, so there is a more benevolent king, right?
hmm
I think he goes by I can't remember now, Mortis. Yeah, I think that's
Immortus,
his
yeah.
name. Yeah, and then there's a younger king, who ends up becoming Iron Lad, which we know is going to be more the Young Avengers. So with that being said, this version of King, right, because there are going to be others, he does create a bargain, if you will, which some say to said, if it's me or it's chaos, right? And kind of interesting. We'll talk about this later, but I've been watching this Netflix show on how to be a dictator,
Yeah.
and it's so true. It's so true, man. It's like they go through the history of dictators from Hitler to uh, Gaddafi to Idi
Yeah.
Amin, and so they're very similar, right? It's like, hey, I'm the best option. If we didn't, it's chaos. And so he presents Sylvie and Loki with a choice, right? To your point, of if they want to take over or kill him. So and then you have to deal with the worst versions of himself. So
Yeah.
so it's kind of, man, that was just fascinating choice, man. But everything you said was just so. Real quick before we get to the story, let's just talk about that performance, man, for Jonathan Majors. Um, so first of all, having a young black actor play that role, I guarantee, like even 5 years ago, that would not have happened because just how things were done. You just get a British, older white British guy, right, to play that role and then keep it like that. But to take the choice to make him do this kind of character, but also play a version of a character we'll see later on is brilliant. Number one, and then the way he portrayed it was just like, I mean, it was electrifying because basically he talked for about a good 30 minutes. Uh, just
Yeah.
explaining, and everything was exposition. It was just exposition, explaining everything. And it was brilliant performance, man. I've been a Jonathan Majors fan for a minute. I mean, I saw Lovecraft Country. He was in The Five Bloods, and so he's just been one. And oh, if you've never seen him, but one of the first movies he did was called The Last Black Man in San Francisco,
Yeah.
and he was brilliant in that. He played kind of like a monotone character for a long time, and then like one scene, he exploded in all these different characters, right? And so I think based on that movie, he
Mm.
probably got cast as Kang because he has so much range in him, right? And he brought that to bear, to your point, as this kind of been there, done that kind of King version of King, who, like you said, was madcap, a little kind of off kilter, but he had multitudes in there with anger, tiredness, kind of silliness, because to him it was just like, hey, it's a game, whether you kill me or not, it's all gonna work out the same for me, or I get to rest and hang out, party. So it was like the performance itself was just, I mean, captivating, considering he didn't even show up in the he didn't show up in the whole TV show until like the last, like you said, like at minute 10 of the last episode, episode 6.
Yeah.
So I mean, bravo to him, man. Bravo to him.
Yeah, man. That was a for people who are into acting and everything, acting and stage performances and characterization, he did something that I didn't expect would play so well. Because as I said, he's just kind of a guy, uh, a little bit crazy from being in the Citadel for you know eons. He said, just doing his thing and setting up things the way he wanted to. And the moment that kind of touched me was when he started getting like that little nervous excitement because he stopped keeping track of what would happen after a certain point. So he's just like, I fibbed a little. I don't know I don't know everything that's gonna happen because I just stopped like watching it all after this point. So after being in control for so long, to me it's like, what's the one thing you would want to experience not being in control for a little bit? So he brings in agents of chaos, literally in their case of Loki's, and has him in a room, and he's just like, I know what's gonna happen. I don't know what's gonna happen. So
He was
it's
excited. He was giddy. He was just like, I've known so much for so long. This is the I haven't been excited like this for like millennial, right? Thousands upon thousands of years, and so he was just like giddy. And I mean, that performance is brilliant. I mean, not only that, but like you said, the whole Elias scene. That was a one time he saw anger, right? He was like, I weaponized it. I ended it. He was like, he had a sense of pride but anger of how much pain he had to do to kind of make that work, and
yeah,
prove that he was the best. I mean, in a sense, I felt like he was the best of all kings because he was able to
yeah,
stop the rest of the kings, and so he had pride in that, but also anger because of what he had to do to make it happen. And then he also and then the whole when Sylvie was like, "You're a villain or whatever, you're evil." He said, "Let's be real. We're all evil here. Grow up. We all done horrific, horrible things. We're all villains." And to me, I was
murderer.
like, "Wow." Yeah,
Hypocrites.
murderer, hypocrite, man. He's right. They were. And it's just like, yes, he's pruned, trillions of people, but in his mind, it's like, hey, this the opposite is even worse. And he said, and he was so charismatic with it. Was like, I was like, well, dude, take the offer. It's a good offer. so,
Yeah.
but then someone made a good point. It's like that's what dictators do to you, man. They say, hey, there's only two options here, but there's always other options, and I think that's what Loki was trying to hint at, right? When so after he kind of makes this bargain to them, basically Loki and Sylvie get into a fight over their different views on how they should proceed forward. And that's what dictators do. They kind of give you two options, but there's always other options. And I think Loki was trying to kind of think through that, where Sylvie was very emotionally charged to kind of deliver, justice to this evil. So that was, man, just bravo performance by John the Majors, bravo scene, just everything was great about that, man. So anyway, so do we want to? So we'll move on. Let's move quickly to the finish of the story. So I guess to your point, they kind of start to fight, but meanwhile they kind of check back in with Vona and with Mobius. What were you thought? What did you think of their scene? What they were trying to communicate and what they were trying to get across.
Um, well, it definitely lets you know that there are still agents at play that are affected by this whole, what's going on, and they still have a role. And I like the fact that the analyst tried to take on a hunter. Analyst being Mobius, tried to attack Judge Renslayer. She kicked his ass. I was like, "Stay down, boy." You know.
What did she say? Even with that, you're no threat to me.
Yeah. So, I think their story is, the story of, them looking out for other variants, and them actually understanding that they're variants. Their story, I think, is going to help tell the story of this multiverse thing a little more in terms of how it plays out for individual characters. So that's what I was thinking about when I was watching them. I wasn't terribly invested in it, like, as you
Yeah,
know,
it was tough.
because I don't know much of their backstory yet or anything. But I was like, okay, that could be really interesting.
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, they were trying to interplay it with the whole, Loki, Sylvie, and he who remains storyline. It was just like, I mean, fast forward this. Let me get there. But I'm glad I kind of stuck through it because it did explain a lot of stuff. Did you catch that whole pin action? I think some folks on the internet said, hey, yeah, she had that pin from Roosevelt Elementary School, and that's how Mobius and team found out, who her variant was, right, in the in the
Hmm.
in the sacred timeline. So I don't know. Did you catch that earlier? Because in the episodes, or did you miss that too? I missed
Yeah, yeah. I saw. No, I saw the pin. So, um, the pin and the cup with the rings on it. Um, those were tales of telling tales of their story. That's a little outside the TVA. So
it. Hmm.
it's like, whatever, why she had that pin from her outside life. Not sure. And the fact that there were multiple rings, and she said you put them there. So that makes you question. Wait a minute. Uh, did Ravona, did she know that he's a variant and he got reset or pulled in from a different timeline or something? And
Mm.
he doesn't know that he's doing the same thing with the cup, or does that mean that it's a lot of little implications that a lot of this stuff could have, and I think they were just planting good seeds for the idea of this multiplicity of madness.
So basically, she's given some files. Also, I think this is before Mobius
Mm,
shows up.
yeah.
Is it before Miss Minutes pops up and says, "Hey, here's some files and check them out." And basically, her and Mobius have that fight. She beats up Mobius and is like, I gotta go. I'll see you around. And she steps through the time portal and is out. So, obviously, this, any thoughts, high level? I mean, I'm sure we're gonna cover this. If, spoiler alert, but there will be a season two, so we'll probably get more in deep into the
Yeah.
storyline, if not in the movies. But any thoughts on what was on the files and then where she could potentially be going?
That's actually a great question. The fact that she was asking for files so she could get to the bottom of what was going on, and she said these aren't the files I asked for, and Miss Minutes was like, yeah, but he said these are the files you need. What
Ooh,
I
Miss
had,
Minutes was just being creepy as hell, man.
yeah.
God, very sus, very sus. Seriously, as the young kids would say.
So once again, if we're going back to um, your boy, he who remains, Immortus' speech or whatever, he was kind of talking where in such a way that you could take it or read it in different ways as well, where it's like, I fibbed a little bit. I didn't know everything that was going to happen, but he sent her certain files. He's
Mhm.
still in control. Um, and the fact that he smiled and winked, he said, "See you soon," when he got stabbed. It's like, okay, he's kind of existing outside of time. You know, maybe he knew how to, set something up where this event's going to cause changes to the past and his past becomes better, because that's the kind of stuff that Kang in the comics would do. Like, hey, wait a minute, if I get killed in the future, then this person comes way back in time to find me and does this and gives me more power, and I can do X, Y, and Z. Well, I'll just have him kill me in the future. That's the kind of thinking he would do. So
Mhm.
throughout his speech, I was like, wait a minute, did this dude actually hope that one of these Lokis would try to kill him? Because he could never find two of them to kill him or something. I don't know, but it just didn't work out that way until, I mean, go back and listen to those very last words, and it's like, hold on, you don't sound all that benevolent. You're still being kind of shady here. And what's up with that wink? How you gonna wink at me?
Exactly. Well, so to your point, we go back there. Sylvie and Loki fight. There's an emotional connection. She kisses him because Loki says, "I just want you to be okay." Then she tricks him, gets the Tempad, and kicks him through the portal. And basically, she takes a knife and kills him. So to your point, to kill the one who remains, and to your point, he very much says, "See you soon,"
Yeah,
winks. And so, man, everything you said is top notch. I mean, because you're right. I mean, I hadn't read a lot of King comic books, but I have a sense of that. He would be thinking like 20 steps ahead, and then like about across 1,000 lifetimes, right? Trying to figure out what's the most optimal path. And to your point, there's because he said one thing and he already fibbed, right? So he already said, I didn't tell you the truth, so I fibbed. What's to prevent him from fibbing again? To your point, and saying, well, I may not know what's happening, but I've already planned just in case you both start tripping. I already got plans on top of plans. And
yeah,
so, I agree, man, 100% that he probably had plans on top of plans to be prepared. And he was like, look, when he killed me, and he even told him in so many words, he's like, look, what's the worst that could happen? You take over and I get to rest, or you kill me and I'll be right back here again. And so to him, it's like, look, I went anyway.
yeah,
I'm so far ahead of you guys. Matter of fact, you guys didn't even know who I was until yesterday. So it was like
yeah,
he was like, dude, I'm so far ahead, you guys. I mean, matter of fact, I'm so far ahead. I wrote out everything you're gonna say in this moment. So anyway,
yeah,
make a long story short, I think that's the exciting part. You got a villain now who can be different versions of himself. Who's thinking on like not just different timelines, but different universes. And now you trying to say that you're gonna have Spider-Man go against him or Thor? I mean, this is the ultimate villain, right?
yeah. So yeah, it gets really weird because, as I said, he exists outside of time, and if you saw the citadel that he sits in, the sacred timeline, they always showed a section of it as a line. When you saw the whole thing, it was a ring around him. It was just this
Mhm.
one big series of events. So when they said he's sitting at the end of time, and you kind of find out that time is going in a big circle, it's kind of like, don't think about it too hard, your head will explode. There's
So let's sum this up. So basically, Loki is back at the TVA. Of course, he's devastated that this Loki, basically, portrayed him. But I mean, think about Loki. That's what Lokis do. But that's a whole nother topic. And so now he's trying to shake it off, and of course he's got a plan. So he's rushing back, and he runs into the Hunter and Mobius, and says, "Hey guys, I got a plan. Is somebody bad coming?" And he's coming, and then we get Mobius with the question is like,
Eh,
"Who are you? Are you some kind of analyst?" And then we get Loki looking off into the distance, and we get the Planet of the Apes reveal that guess what? He's
yeah,
already here, brother.
yeah.
So, what do you think of the ending?
I thought that was strong, man. I it's funny when Loki was run through the TVA music changed. So instead of like a '60s you know shag lounge vibe that they usually have, you know, it was kind of like the '60s electronica kind of. I was like,
Mhm,
wait a minute, the colors a little different, the everything shaped
mhm.
a little different, and then all of a sudden when they're out there talking, he looks out and sees the statue. I'm like, oh man, there it goes. Just
Yeah,
no more,
yeah.
no more pre. I don't know if this was a different TVA or it was TVA just changing because of the decision they made. Hard to tell, but yeah, madness.
Man, we'll get into in a second of how this changes the MCU. But before we end the recap feature, overall, I mean, look, I liked it. I loved it. I think it was like I think it because it just changed our expectations about what these TV shows can be, and then it also kind of opened up what this Phase 4 is really about. So that's what's exciting about it to me, and then the fact that for the first time we felt that it mattered what we watched, right? And we didn't feel like it's a waste of our time. So those are the kind of the three things that I really loved about it. So obviously this is top notch for me. But obviously I do have some concerns about it. We'll talk about that in a second. But Mr. Benja, what about you? What were your views on it?
Um, I was actually laughing and surprised when you told me that you had to change your rating reviews, your top five. I love it, man. I normally would be very upset with this type of finale, this type of season ending, where you get in and you talk for about a half an hour. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? I'd be mad and I'd throw something out the window. Didn't happen this time. It worked for me. I even tried watching it again, and I was like, boom, I'm catching more layers in it the second time I watch it. So
Same here.
it just worked, man. And that's a testament to good art when something you think you don't like will turn your head and make you enjoy it. A lot of people really didn't like it, said it was too much talking, but I'm not sure they caught a lot of the relevance to the overall madness.
Yeah, yeah. So let's get into like what didn't work, right? So I do feel like, is this the case where you have a great ending and it just kind of peppered over everything else? But let's be honest, there was some flaws here. I think, again, my biggest challenge was this is about a character that we really didn't understand, and they were trying to define the character. And to be fair, I still don't know who this character is, right? So it's like he's just
Yeah,
still all over the place. I mean, he's moved the needle somewhat, right? To your point, with introspection and who he is and how he can become a hero. But I still didn't care enough about the main character. That was just my personal thoughts on that, right? And so that's kind of how I think about it. But a couple other things, and I'll let you kind of talk about it. But basically, on my side, I thought that the Loki and Mobius pairing, which was the best, it was basically done after episode 2, so they never really kind of
yeah,
connected
yeah,
again. And I felt that like that was like one of the best pairings. They showed up again at the end of episode 5, but it was kind of like brief. You just go do your thing, man, and you do your thing, and we're going on separate missions. But it was kind of like they kind of pushed that to the side, which is kind of sad. I also felt that the Loki and Sylvie, they were supposed to be the same person. I never really got that vibe, and to be honest, I didn't even get the vibe that they were in love with each other. It was more like brother and sister, It's kind of like,
yeah.
hey,
It was weird.
so it's kind of like, huh?
It was weird.
Yeah, but okay, there had to be some other stuff. Like she was so full of rage and anger there was no kind of lightness about her, right? Because that's what Tom Hiddleston plays Loki with a little bit of lightness, not too much, but a
Yeah.
little bit, right? And then she was just all rage, and so I want to see some more lightness. And then the fact that she wasn't, a better mastermind, that was a challenge too. But that's also Loki. But I just never felt they were the same person, if that makes sense. And then one other thing I thought was that the episode 3 and episode 5, episode 3 was Lamentus 9, and episode 5 Journey into Mystery. I mean, easily those are the two worst, and they were just either too exposition heavy or just delays. Right? Episode 3, Lamentus, was just him and Sylvie in this big planet, and that was just a lot of exposition. And then the episode 5, right before episode 6, was basically a delay tactic. Right here's a bunch of Lokis to keep you distracted, so we can get to the final episode. And so those two episodes could easily have been truncated in my opinion, because it was like, okay, I get what they were trying to do, but I don't think they worked, right? Even if you take them, in the grander scheme of things. So I think the ending was like basically A plus plus. The show as a whole was probably about a B, but then if you average it out, A minus. There you go.
um. Okay. Good. I like those opinions. Um. So really quick, I actually had agree with you on the Lamentus. When they're on that planet, I thought that was the opportunity where we should really see them connect or disconnect or whatever. It felt like they were trying to do it. It just kind of didn't work. You know what I mean? Um, I've watched rom-coms before, and I've seen where two people don't like each other, but they really like each other, and it works. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, like when he's throwing down his glass of alcohol, or like another, I'm thinking about Thor instead of thinking about their relationship. Now, if Sylvie would have done that, threw down the glass and said another, I would have been like, oh, okay, that's an interesting connection there. So I get you on the Lamentus thing. It spent uh, basically an hour trying to do something that it didn't really succeed at doing. They told me, but I didn't feel it at all.
Mhm.
Um, I do have issues going. I was going back and trying to fact check some things. When I watched the first couple episodes, I don't want to say they're lost threads or whatever, but it's just stuff that they kind of brought up and just really didn't do much of anything. Um, and unless you're, and if that's happening for me, like the salad example, you know, I understood the salad example, but people were like, why are they spending so much time talking about salad? Or why are they spending so much time with, why is Lady Sif here? There's a lot, a whole
Yeah.
bunch of why ifs for a lot of people. Um, and that's definitely a fault. They could have tightened it up a little more, and it wouldn't have seemed so random. Um, because look, I went back and watched Tenet, so I can go back and forth through time and get this stuff. But I wouldn't have gone this wild with a lot of these random stuff. Uh, yeah, so just not everything connected properly. And was there some, to episode 5, which I actually liked, um, Journey into Mystery. I liked it because, hey, it's a bunch of Lokis, kind of madcap fun. You're driving around in a pizza wagon, and it's like, oh man, y'all crazy, y'all crazy, man. This is out of control. Oh, what you gonna do, old man? Oh, this is crazy, man. Y'all out of control. I had fun with that, but yeah, it's like the story elements weren't incredibly strong. I thought that dude, classic Loki was crying, while he was laughing and building the. I don't know if you saw it, I saw it. He was like crying out of his. I was like, man, this guy's acting his ass off for Loki. Uh,
Yeah, Richard Grant. I
yeah,
think he was nominated for a couple of Oscars. He's a great actor. Yeah.
yeah, they should nominate him for a cameo instead of Don Cheadle.
No. Don T said, "You can have mine."
What? I was confused. But yeah, so I actually agree with you on those points. It was kind of a weird mismatch of things, all kinds of stuff happening. But you know, Loki, it's chaotic. Um, I'm there for it. As I said, I don't completely understand why I liked it as much as I did. It just kept me going for the ride. So,
Mhm, mhm.
and I didn't
No,
get
I
bonered.
mean, yeah, exactly. We didn't get bonered, and there were just some good actors. I mean, look, I told you, Owen Wilson was like probably the best thing about this show. I mean, Tom Hiddleston, he's good, but he is what he is, right? You either love him or hate him, or just I'm kind of indifferent with him either way. But Owen Wilson, I always liked him, and I thought he brought just kind
Yeah.
of like a groundness, to that bureaucracy. That's the kind of guy you would imagine being a bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Just, hey, I've seen it all, but I'm trying to do the right thing, right? And so I thought that was good, compelling about it. But you're right, it's just like there was a lot of threads. I question because we already know, and we'll talk about maybe this in a second, but in the future, but Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there was a storyline that got cut because of COVID. I
Mm.
wonder if they did some changes to Loki in the midst of all this too. Maybe they were going to go one direction, and then maybe saw some of the reaction for WandaVision, and they said, "Oh, we got to switch some stuff up here." So
Yeah.
I wonder. I don't know how long it takes, but TV show. I mean, they film all this in Atlanta, dude. They got CGI stuff for days. They call
Yeah.
Jonathan Major up. Hey, you ain't doing nothing. Lovecraft Country got just canceled. Come on down to Atlanta. Let's do this real quick. Probably
Yeah.
did it like 2 days ago. Filmed it
Uh,
and put it out there. So
yeah.
I don't know, man. I want to know the background. Like, I'm sure stuff gets changed, man, pretty quickly. And because I mean, literally, I mean, they were filming some of this right earlier this year, so it's kind of like they must have kind of did this, like, given some of the feedback of the audience reaction to Rick Boner and some other stuff that they were hearing on the internet. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a hot take. I'm just coming out the dome, but I'm just curious. What are your thoughts?
Totally. I mean, they rearranged this up to the last couple minutes. I mean, where they so with product development, a lot of times you'll have all these revisions going on, and they just pile them up. Like, here's revision one, it's been checked off by Feige, Favreau, all these guys, da da da. And then we have a revision two coming in right after it, and they've got all these things loaded up and ready to go. And until like the last minute, they may not pull the trigger and say, okay, we're going in version three's direction. That's what we're actually going to put out. We're going in version two's direction. That's what we're actually going to put out. This stuff can go up until pretty much the last week, in terms of streaming, and
Wow.
you've seen that
Okay.
in the trailers where the trailers come out, they get things are altered, things are changed, and we know they edit trailers up to like the last minute. So if a trailer is released on Friday, they could be up there Thursday morning putting on the final touches. So trailer gets released and it's like King Loki. Did they intend to not have him, or did that get written out of the show, or is that a misdirection, or a bit of both? So,
Good point. And you can tell they do some rewriting because I've seen shows and movies where, somebody's reacting to a line, and
mhm.
I'm like, how come we didn't see the actor talk? It's like, did they rewrite that line or something? It's
Yeah,
like, the guy's like, he said, so you thought this was going to happen, right? And the guy's like, but you never see the actor saying the lines. So did the actor have to come back into post and say that
yeah,
line? And then they already had a reaction shot for something else, and they just plugged it in there. So it's kind
yeah.
of interesting, man. But you're right. I think so one day we'll figure this out. Everyone, don't worry, we're on the case. Mr. Benja's in the field. We're gonna figure this out. We're gonna figure out, did they film Loki like 2 days ago
Yeah.
when this was filmed? So
Oh,
anyway,
oh,
so
quick,
let's.
quick final point about the story. So the opening intro where we see all of the different uh, letters changing their fonts and style and symbols. With the word Loki changes, right?
Mhm.
Um, Loki is plural for Loki, so it's not like Lokis. You know, so
Mm,
there are a bunch of Loki out there. So if the title isn't about Tom Hiddleston himself, it's just about Loki, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, maybe I'll give him a little. I don't have to bomb on Tom Hiddleston's character of Loki not being fully expressed if it's about all of them. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting.
yeah, and to your point, you're right. The title is they're changing the letters with different uh, font types and things like that, and I didn't get that until like now. I guess I saw. I got it. Once we saw the first two episodes, that this is a multiverse type, type of show. But so it's good. Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, I mean, they set the stage right. They know how to. I mean, look, man. Let's get into the feature, man. Let's get into features. Features. Hey,
Feature,
everyone. Yeah,
feature.
feature. So everyone, this is good. We're going to talk about Loki and the future of the MCU. And there are a lot of things we can cover. So I think the first thing we're going to talk about a little bit is the show. So we already talked about the recap of the show, but we want to talk about the implications of the show and how it's going to change the future of the MCU. And then we'll talk a little bit about the business aspect. Where's this going, for MCU? What does this mean? So let's start with the Loki, the show. So, Mr. Benja, high level, is this something, how do you feel about this? Where does this rank in the MCU? Is this the best of the Marvel TV shows, from a
Eesh.
show quality standpoint? What are your thoughts?
Um, as far as the overview, I definitely can't rank it, but I think back to important moments in the MCU. You have, Iron Man, the first Iron Man. You have Civil War. Captain America. You have, um, Black Panther. I think these are just important moments in Marvel cinema. Um, you could throw Thor, the first Thor, in there too. Thor Ragnarok, if you'd like as well. They're just important. Like, boom, this happens. Boom, this happens. That's important. Um, Ant Man, Ant Man and Wasp. If you want to talk about, revealing the quantum realm, those are important. I'm not putting any ranking and quality on those. Just they're important. So suddenly you have these three Marvel shows. I think Loki is definitely the most important of those, and more important than a lot of the movies. So, um, yeah, it's quality wise better, and it's so pivotal in the way that it sets up Phase Four and the rest of the Marvel universe. It's exact. This is wild. That's what I was. That, I, I'm standing up and saying that.
I wonder if we didn't know that Doctor Strange was going to be called the Multiverse of Madness, would this have been even more impactful? This show, because now we were given hints that
Mm,
we were getting to the multiverse, all right, and so
hmm
that just opened up the can of worms and all the stuff we're looking for. But if we didn't know that, and we came into this and this is wild and exploded on us, would this have even more of an impact on the future of Marvel?
I thought it would. I think it would have had less of an impact if we didn't know. If it was just Doctor Strange, um, me and my books, then I was like, you know, what is Doctor Strange? Me and my books. All right, I might go see that. I might not. Um,
Uh,
but the fact that the idea of multiverse of madness, that is a interesting name, and it kind of sticks out there. So it's like multiverse. What are you talking about? It just gets people asking questions. And then the fact that they sprinkled in multiverse, madness, maddening,
mhm.
multiversal war and all that in this show, it made you feel the gravity of it. So, um, yeah, I think they're playing an interesting marketing game in that respect.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Another thing, I'm struggling to try to understand this. Does the time travel in the multiverse, did it make sense in the context of Marvel? Because it seems a little messy to me, man. It's like, so you have time travel, but then you also have multiverses. So, so I guess every universe kind of has its own timeline. It can't diverge, or can a timeline diverge from one universe creates another universe? So they never really explained that well, in my opinion. But unless Mr. Benja, as the time time expert, because since you watched Tenet for like 40 times, what are your thoughts, man? Is the time travel in the multiversal aspect of Marvel Universe, has that been adequately defined?
um, Adequately, I don't know if anybody will say adequately, but I do know that they're playing with ideas of time uh, as we said, back to the ring concept, where there is no beginning and end. It all just kind of starts to flow together and happen all at once. Um, I think that's very appropriate for what we're talking about. How, well, if you're dealing with another universe, um, let's say you have a book starting from beginning to end, and then somebody comes up and they have the exact same copy of that book, but on page five something is different than on your page five.
Mm,
It's like, well, if I read my book first, does page five happen before their page five, or is it just the fact that I read it first? And you start to get into these weird, you know, Einstein thought experiments about how time should work. basically, I think they're saying with the ring and the stacking of universes that it's all happening kind of all at once. So, does it make sense?
Mm.
Maybe I don't have much big enough degree to answer that.
Well, as someone who's played chess for 8 hours, so I know you'll figure it out, Mr. Benja. I know you'll
Yes,
figure it out.
I'm on the case.
So yeah, because the thing that's just struggling with me was just like, so we talked about the recap. So we know as soon as King dies, the multiverse has, excuse me, the single timeline has branched off, right, and created all these different variants and stuff. But then as soon as he comes back, so once that created, did that create the multiverses now? Once the timelines branched off, so now instantaneously a Kang. Well, to your point, so this is where it gets heady. So probably what happened was the timelines branched off, create all these universes, and the king that the 31st century in another universe, he saw, he looked at what happened, went back in time and took over for that previous timeline, I guess, that Loki went back to. That's my impression, because I guess that Tempad just sent them back into his own timeline, right? He didn't go to another universe. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So, um, uh, so a lot of people when they think about time, they think about starting from zero and going to one, which is the end of time. But if you remember, um, you know, Kang started the timekeepers and all that were created at the end of time to go back and fix all the problems. So,
Hmm.
quote unquote, end of time. Um, and you're dealing with not a non-linear concept. So it's not like, you do something and uh, you create another universe. There was already another universe there, and you just kind of made a bridge over into it. If that makes any sense.
When did that bridge get created, though?
As I'm saying, it's always if you're not dealing with a linear kind of thing of time, then it's like it always kind of happened. So if I'm just sitting in my timeline and all of a sudden a portal opens up and Rick and Morty fall in, it's not like they created my timeline. I was already there and they kind of jumped into it. So
Hmm.
it's
So
like
that Kane was already existing somewhere, but he just like, oh, he finally saw an opportunity to get into our timeline and wreck shit up. So, and basically change their perceptions, because Mobius and the Hunter, oh man, I can't remember, B-52, I think it was, but
that's
they
a
didn't
band.
know anything. Yeah, I know. Hunter B. That's sad.
Yes.
Hunter B. Man, we're gonna figure that out. But she, they didn't know anything, right? It's like basically their whole timeline got rewritten by the time Loki came back, and so I guess he went back in time in the timeline. He crossed over to the universe, went back in time, and changed everything up, but just enough so that when Loki showed up, it was totally different than what he remembered.
Well, this is the thing about the TVA. We're not sure what TVA that is, when it was created, or by which Kang. You know what I mean? So we're not
Hmm.
even sure that because uh, Sylvie grabbed his little, weird classic Tempad looking thing, magic stone, and just kind of did her thing and pushed him off into it. But we don't know where that would send somebody.
Mm.
So
So it could be another universe. Is that what you're saying? It could be another universe.
yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, like I said, more to come, guys.
Madness.
Yeah, we're gonna. Don't make your heart hurt too much, but we're gonna get into it. So with this, so the future, right? We're gonna talk about that real quick. So the key takeaways in my mind was that basically it seems like we have to watch everything now, right? The TVs, the TV shows, the movies, even some of the animation stuff that's coming out, to make sense of all the different facets of madness in of the multiverse. So I wrote down all the different TV shows and movie projects over the next 2 years, and we kind of go through it and kind of get a sense of like, will these have multiverse elements, or will they not, right, going forward? And so we know for sure, right? There's going to be four shows that we know, or and one, three shows and one, excuse me, three movies and one TV show that's going to have multiversal implications. The first one is What If, and that's going to be actually next month, August 11th. And that's pretty much confirmed, right, Mr. Benja, that hey, this is going to be nothing but hey, versions of the multiverse, right, and that we're going to see and what they mean. So you think that's going to have play out in future TV shows and movies from this What If TV show?
Yeah, they're gonna you know, I think they're gonna keep it light, but they're just gonna expand your idea of hey, well, hey, over in Earth 17-B, you're gonna find you know a black Uatu, or whatever. There's another version of the Watcher me out there, so it's like whatever. But yeah, they're trying some things out, I think, and how much they're going to actually tie into individual stories. I don't know that they're going to do that with this animation. I think they're just going to play around with the idea and start expanding people's minds on this multiverse concept.
Love it, love it. Yeah, just get people hyped up and ready for it. So, but the other ones we know for sure is Spider-Man: No Way Home. That's coming out this December. And we know for a fact that basically everyone who's played Spider-Man in the last 20 years, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, they will be
Hmm.
showing up. So we know that's going to be a multiverse show, a movie. And then Doctor Strange, which won't come out until March 25th, 2022. And we talked about all the time, but it's called, what's it called? Multiverse?
Yeah,
Madness of
multiverse of
Multiverse?
madness. Multiverse of
Multiverse of
madness.
Madness. so so we know what that's about. We know what that's about. They about that action, boss. And so we know that's coming. And then finally Quantum Mania, which is really the confirmed next Kang appearance, which won't, and I didn't know it's that far out, but it basically won't show up until February 17th, 2023, which is basically over 2 years ago, almost just 2 years from now. So
Yeah.
that's a long time, man, with no King. So those are the ones that we know for sure. Let's get into real quick on these other ones. So we got since then we're gonna have Shang Chi
Hmm.
September 3rd. We have Eternals November 5th of this year, and then we have two TV shows, Hawkeye and Miss Marvel. Will we see Kang show up in either the Spider-Man movie or any of these other movies coming up here by the end of the year?
So, I don't know if you guys remember how Thanos kind of showed up in the end credits. Um, if we start getting variants of Immortus and Kang showing up, I think that would just kind of be hilarious. Where we're watching Shang-Chi and he's fighting Abomination for some reason, which is madness, right? So somebody's fighting Abomination. What if Kang is up in the stands, like, ooh, I didn't expect this to happen. And you just kind of get these Easter eggs. I don't, it's they've got so much room to play with. They're gonna have fun with this, man. I mean, if they had fun putting Thanos in other shows and other sprinkling his references around, they're gonna have fun with this one too.
Yeah, and Kang can show up as just a regular guy, right? Just hanging around eating a hot dog somewhere in the scene. Sure. that that think one of his aliases is like something crazy like Travel Man or something like that. But I gotta look it up. But he's been around for so long, and he could be going back and forth in time. So I
Yeah.
think someone made a good point, Grace. From beyond the trailers, you mentioned
Hmm.
it. Is every movie and TV show going to have a multiversal element to it now? Right now that this has been released, and I would say possibly, highly likely, because this is the driving force now going forward. People want to know what's going to happen in the future, and they want to see these elements peppered through because they want, it's part of that story. This is the bigger story they're telling
Yeah.
now, and I think they're going to have it in every one of these TV shows, even though they have nothing to do with King whatsoever, right? But there's going to be some kind of, hey, isn't that the second version of this guy, this character? Why is he showing up? And he's going to look off to the side in a little scene, and you're going to see somebody. He's going to talk to somebody on a tin. You're going to see a tin pad in his hand. You're like, oh, that's King. And so I think to your point, they can have so many different plays with this. It's going to be crazy.
Madness. Oh, and
So go.
you check this out. They even got Jamie Foxx back as Electro for
I
Spider-Man.
saw that. I saw that,
That's
man.
crazy. That's
So yeah.
madness.
Oh, they even have Molina coming
Y-
back too as Doc Ock. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
madness. But definitely. Well, like I said, Spider Man. I guarantee the ones that are already kind of confirmed, even before Quantumania, I'm betting the farm that they're going to see some element of Kang and Spider Man and Doctor Strange.
All right. I'll take that bet.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
the the one other thing though, with all these shows coming up, is you've seen. It sounds like it's going to be, too much to keep track of, but it can be done relatively. If you do it in a light, fun way, and you actually cover up a lot of the. Wait a minute, did this story happen before that story? Oh, whatever, multiverse,
Mhm.
and you just kind of forget about it. You've seen that with Legends of Tomorrow. The DC CW actually does this pretty well, where you're watching it and you don't care as much about making sure you have the story together, because it's kind of like whatever. Legends of Tomorrow, uh, you have your crossover crisis happening. Then you have what do you call it? Even on the Flash, there's their version of Kang, um, Zoom, not Zoom. The Yeah, one of those Flash guys who's actually bad. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
He's the doctor, the scientist guy. So
Mhm.
there's your model. There's your model for a Kang kind of appearance, where you just have a council of these guys and different actor, the same character, same actor playing different characters. So
Mhm.
I think they're just gonna, yeah, as you said, sprinkle it in, and it just makes everything more palatable.
Well, yeah, and so we're going to transition to the business side of it, and man, this from a branding standpoint, what Marvel is doing here is just brilliant. I mean, they are taking some of the brand concepts to the next level with this, right? And I think one thing kind of want to bring this up. So there's a format, or there's like
Hmm.
what's it called, template to kind of think of a brand, where you want to interact with the consumer when you kind of
Hmm.
deal with them, and where you want to invest your dollars in, right, to make sure they understand who you are and what you're about. It's called the clock model, right? So basically, if you look at a clock and they determine, is this, prior to purchase, during purchase, or after purchase, right? Where do you want to invest your dollars? So I'll give you an example. Like FedEx probably spends more of their dollars into post purchase. So after you major purchase to ship something, spend a lot of time in loyalty. Here's some discount, tickets, a discount to ship another device, another something, through our service. Tesla, they spend a lot of money in pre-purchase, right, with awareness campaigns and understanding of things. And the Starbucks, right, they spend a lot of money in purchase. You go to a nice restaurant, excuse me, a coffee shop, you smell the coffee, they tell you exactly what you need to receive. And so you think about Marvel, man. The amazing thing to me is I think they do a great job at post purchase, which leads into pre purchase. It's kind of weird because they pretty much hype you for the next movie while you're watching the same this movie. So it's like part of a continuing story. And so this
Yep.
brand, connection is so tight that you have to watch the next one. You just, even if, matter of fact, there was one movie I did not want to see, Captain Marvel, but I figured I had to go see it because it's going to prepare me for Infinity War or Endgame. And I was just like, okay, I'll watch it. And, it really wasn't necessary to watch. But that's branding 101, man. They find a way to kind of keep you tied into the brand if you want to be a part of that story. And they make so much investments in these teasers that lead into the next story that's just brilliant. And so, kudos to Marvel from a branding standpoint. It's just, how they're doing that is just huge.
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. And so how did they get people again with the pre awareness? So how does that come in?
So,
Uh,
so that's like ads, TV awareness campaigns, things like that, which is fine. Marvel does that too. It's not saying you don't invest in those that side of it, right? But is that what they're known for? I mean, every movie does that, right? That doesn't differentiate you from,
mhm.
the DCU or anything like that, right? The thing that differentiates Marvel is because they put so much into those teaser tags that post purchase. I've already seen the movie. right?
Hmm.
I'm walking out the theater. Oh, I can't walk out. I gotta watch the teaser. That's that
Oh, okay.
post purchase that they put money into, right? So to keep you coming back, and that's where
Okay. So,
that's how they differentiate themselves.
so you're saying a little bit of overlap between the overlap between all three of them, I guess. You're currently watching a
It
movie.
could
There's a little
be,
something
yeah. I
at the
mean, entertainment.
end that puts you into the next one. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, so like I said, the example would be like, customer loyalty points or something like that to keep people tied into a brand. But there's some brands that they just put a lot more dollars into keeping people coming back over and over
Yeah.
again. And I think that's what Marvel does. They just put so much money into like the post per. I've already seen Captain Marvel. I got hyped because now I'm ready to see, Endgame in 3 months. Think about it. Now we watched Loki. We already purchased it, watched it. Now we're hyped for the next one because they guess what? They put a teaser in there or they set up the storyline that
Yeah.
says, "Oh, now that you purchased this, you already watched this. Guess what? There's another one coming."
Yeah.
so
Yep.
so I think they put a lot of money into this post purchase understanding, and basically it's just a choice, right? Where do you want to put your dollars in to make your brand differentiate in the marketplace, right? And Marvel has done that, brilliantly. So that's one area of the brand I want to talk about, and then the other thing too is I saw this Netflix documentary. It was called "How to Be a Tyrant." I
Yep.
don't know if you've seen it yet, but it's brilliant, man. It's basically Peter Dinklage, who plays Tyrion in Game of Thrones. He's the narrator, and he goes through all the worst tyrants of history, and they start from Hitler, and basically it's little playbooks like how do you rise to power, you know, how do you keep power, right? You basically destroy your enemies. How do you create a society? Basically, how you control their minds. That's what Stalin did, right? Getting rid of religion and helping people with education. And then the last level, the boss level, was how you can rule forever. And that was by the South Korea, right? Basically, or excuse me, North Korea, who Kim Jong Il. He basically set up a process where his son and grandson can rule, for millennia, for hundreds of years because the way they set it up. So I say all to say is that I think Marvel is moving to the boss level. How do you stay relevant? Yes. How do you stay relevant? This is a hot take. How do you stay relevant in entertainment indefinitely? And by introducing the multiverse, I think they cracked the code because
Hmm.
now they have created a scenario where I may not care about, the Secret Invasion, or I may not care about WandaVision or any other story, but I may care about Wakanda, so I can stay in Wakanda. And guess what? They can have infinite amount of stories in Wakanda now because guess what? It's the madness, baby. so
Madness.
they can always find stuff to find relevant for you, and so you don't have to worry about. You don't ever have to leave Marvel, because if you don't like, one element of the multiverse, guess what? There's infinite number of stories you can tell about Wakanda. Oh, there's infinite number of stories we can tell about, you know, uh, Captain America, right? And so I think I don't know yet. We'll see, But have we reached? Do you feel like Marvel has reached, uh, what they call, over exposure, over saturation in the market right now?
No. They haven't reached oversaturation. I go talk to people, and most of the chatter you're still hearing about is from the people who are into it. There are a lot of people who will every once in a while go watch a Marvel movie or whatever, but haven't gone in like us. You know what I mean? So there's still plenty of it out there. I just think we're hearing a lot from the same people currently.
hmm hmm Well, this is another aspect of brand extension, baby.
Oh,
so
here we go.
two ways to do it, man. You can sell one product to multiple consumers. So think of like the Apple Book. It's one computer that can be sent to creators or to students, right? It's one book,
Hmm.
one kind of product, but it's just different consumers. Or you can create the same consumer and you can send it, sell them multiple products. Think of new moms with babies, right? They need wipes, they need diapers, ointment, things like that. So I think Marvel is going with, hey, we got one genre product, but we're going to sell it to multiple, you know, people. They probably gonna have a rom com. I guarantee that people gonna love. They try to do that a little bit, right? With Captain America, they try to sell it as a spy thriller. They're trying to sell certain aspects of the Marvel movies as different, different type of movies. And or I think didn't they say that this new they had mentioned because it's going to be directed by Sam Raimi, the man, I'm drawing the blank. Doctor Strange, the
Hmm.
Multiverse of Madness. There's supposed to be some horror elements in it, right? So they're going to say this is the quote first horror movie by Marvel. So I think what they're trying to do is trying to expand the brand. So like you said, there could be folks who want to see more Marvel stuff, but it's not their bag, right? But now they can
Yeah,
have different elements that reflect them. Yeah, they might go check it out now.
yeah, totally. And I think we're starting to see that a little bit. And that's the brilliance of it. If you saw like WandaVision and towards the end of that, I think their magic and horror kind of blend into each other a little bit. You know what I mean? And I think that's
Mhm.
what they're kind of building towards the evil Wanda, the weirdness that was going on with Dormammu and Doctor Strange. You contrast that with the fantasy of Thor, which really didn't rely on magic. It was more like guy with a hammer and long flowing locks. Yeah,
Mhm.
you have your separate, what do you call them? Not brand extensions, but brand subcategories, if you will.
And try to reach different markets, right? Different audiences to draw them in. And once they're drawn in, right, with a storytelling or a genre type of storytelling they love, we're in the
Hmm.
multiverse, baby. So guess what? There can be infinite amount of horror stories, infinite amount of rom coms, infinite amount of type spy thrillers that you want to watch. And so that's why that's my whole thesis, right? It's just this is something Marvel's created that could be they're gonna write case studies on this, man. How they basically reshaped entertainment for the future.
Yeah, definitely. And this is something that Disney is good for, with family fun in general. They're good at picking out. Well, let's have a couple elements for the dad. Let's have a couple elements for the mom. Let's have a couple elements for the teenagers, and then the really small kids. If you've ever, taken you've gone to a movie or something with a wide variety of people, you'll see how they kind of play to these different audiences to keep them all kind of engaged. And Disney's the expert at that. I mean, you go watch Lion King and you'll see some kids light up when Simone and Pumbaa, are doing their thing, and it's just a great way of building business if you can pull it off.
If yeah, and I think Kevin Feige and Marvel are starting to pull it off on a level we've never seen before. And to be fair, after this Loki conversation, we're not even talking about the Fox acquisition of the mutants. And so when are they going to show up? So we ain't even brought that into the picture. So it's like he's got that right here in his bag, man. And people are already spinning off into these multiverses and what we're gonna do here. So he's always in the back of his mind, because I think we didn't know what Phase 4 was going to be about. Now we have a clear picture of what Phase 4 is about, which is the multiverse. So
Madness.
now he's got those mutants right back here, man. Whenever people start getting janky or they getting a little Marvel, they just don't have it no
Eh,
more.
they play it out.
Blah. Yeah, they played out. Wolverine shows up out of the blue, right? You're like, oh
that
shit, it's back on.
that's a good point. And I read an article somewhere. Um, so now you've got this multiverse. It's kind of bringing in some of the Spider-Man stuff that they can lean on if they really need to. I don't think they need to with all the characters they've got already. Um,
You mean the Sony stuff that they're building, the whole universe there, or just in general, Spider-Man?
just in general, leaning on Spider-Man. If they wanted to keep their brand strong, there's a lot of Spider-Man stories that people are still looking for. So,
Oh yeah.
but figured that Marvel will stay in-house with their stuff. But what I was saying is that you got Phase 4, and it's going to kind of lead into the Phase 5 stuff. There's still the Secret Invasion, a lot of stuff for many years out. And then after that, like as you said, we've got the Fox mutant stuff that you could just pull out whenever you need to. And I think they're talking with the writer somewhere who had said they're already starting to plan what to do when they run out of their basic comic book storylines that they've already run through. I mean that have already been written. Because we're still basically going off of storylines that were built up in the 70s.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, I mean all these Kang stories and stories from Fantastic Four that haven't even Fantastic Four is coming. They put the damn four in the oh god, I love that teaser. You know, but they've got all these stories that still haven't been explored, and you still have a couple major Marvel events that you can go through before they start, running on just coasting basically and running on their own fuel.
Oh man, we're gonna be old man, dude. Before they finally get to like what's this the Powers of X, right? X-Men latest. So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they got stories on top of stories. To your point, they're still in the '70s, dude. Oh man, they got so much crap they can get into. So Craven's Last Hunt. I think they already cast Craven for Spider-Man. So yeah,
Yeah,
man, it's gonna be huge, man. So I'm there. I'm there with it, man. So
yeah.
so make mine
And,
Marvel. Make mine Marvel.
and you know how I know it works? Because you can do what and Disney's done this as well. Anytime that Disney started feeling everything was too played out, they pulled back on their current branding and kind of slid in a replacement branding. Like they pulled back on Mickey Mouse and then sent out some of their other animation stuff to kind of take the forefront. And then later on, it's like, oh, okay, you're tired of that? Well, let's pull back on that a little bit and push out some live action. What you like about live action princesses? So they have such a backlog of stuff that they could pull out. If people say heroes are going to get old and stale, all you do is throw out stuff like Punisher, and there are going to be people out there who don't know that that's a Marvel property. They're like, oh, it didn't feel like Marvel. I just saw some guy, with guns or whatever. And not that they're going to put Punisher on Front Street, but they've got plenty of characters they can do that with. That's what I'm saying.
Speaking of which, I never watched that second season of Punisher or the first season of Punisher at all. So I gotta check it out. Have you? Did you watch it? Was it any good on Netflix?
Uh, Wait, are you talking about the Daredevil slash Punisher season two?
Yeah. Well, it was no. He had his own show
Yes,
on
he had his own
Netflix. It's
show.
still,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, the his season two, the Punisher by himself season two, was solid. I liked it. Thought it was solid. Um, if you're coming from the Disney stuff and going to that, suddenly you're gonna be like, oh, clutching pearls.
I know Daredevil too. I
I
mean, not
forgot how it's
Daredevil.
gonna be.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Him and Deadpool, right? And a
Yeah,
team up on a Disney Plus show. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
yeah. They may have to make a Hulu special or something.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then also, I just want to make this one last point. Think about it. 10 years from now, though, we'll be around, about 9 years from now, we'll be 20 years from the first Iron Man. So now you're gonna have like nostalgia start kicking in. So
Mm.
guarantee, man, this stuff ain't leaving anytime soon, man. Because people gonna be like, I remember I was in college when the first Iron Man came out. Now I got kids, and I want to see a new Iron Man. So that's when you have Iron Lad or Iron Heart or whoever else is gonna pop up all of a sudden. So it's gonna be weird, man. This stuff ain't ending anytime soon, brother. So, Mr. Benja, with that being said, we went long on this one, but it was worth it, man. I think everyone look check us out definitely. Wherever you listen to podcasts, Mr. Benja. Before we end out, where anything going on this week that you want to let the peoples know about?
I'm still trying to confirm if we have Terrence Howard in the multiverse, and but no, seriously, for this week, I'm just gonna be planning for BenjaCon. Everybody look out for that. That's all I've got that I'll be rolling forward with. You'll see it on my social media, and you'll see me talking about it on Instagram every night at around 6:37.
Love it, love it. We'll catch up on Wednesday as we do on Show versus Business Wednesdays. So everyone check
Yep.
that out. So hey, if nothing else, everyone please like and subscribe and comment at Show versus Business on Twitter, Instagram, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Definitely reach out to us wherever you can contact us. We'd love to hear from you. If nothing else, Mr. Benja, have a great week.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to Show vs. Business, your weekly take on pop culture. Please subscribe to this podcast at Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. Please like and subscribe to our Instagram page, Show vs. Business, to get exclusive behind-the-scenes takes and upcoming episodes. Talk to you next time.
Finish him!